Hello and welcome, I'm Oleksandr Kolchenko and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. The long-awaited prisoners exchange has finally happened. On 7th of September, 35 Ukrainians previously illegally detained in Russia have finally returned home. Among them are 24 sailors, prisoners of war, and 11 political prisoners. In particular, Oleh Sentsov, Oleksandr Kolchenko, Pavlo Hryb, Mykola Karpiuk, Stanislav Klykh, Volodymyr Balukh, Artur Panov, Eugen Panov, Edem Bekirov, Sushchenko, and Oleksiy Sizonovych. To talk more about this historic event and its possible outcomes, we're joined in the studio today by Alexandra Romantsova. She's the Executive Director at the Center for Civil Liberties. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So this is indeed a historic day for Ukraine. This is a happy day. Of course, I would like to discuss with you what can we hope for in the future, and can we remain this much happy tomorrow, because there is still tons of work ahead of us. But let's discuss this decision, the decision about prisoner swap. Russia finally decided to go for it, although we do know that the Kremlin was very reluctant before. So, in your opinion, what did influence Putin's mind?
First of all, we need to remind that 24 sailors, it's a decision of International Maritime Court about that they need to be released. So, and next level, if Russia Federation told that we don't do that, next level of sanction, it will be close the ports for Russian ships. So it's a great economic problems for Russia.
So there was a threat.
So it's one of moment when Russians have like twice benefits. From one moment they have put them in the number of releasing, so they have same number from us, I mean 35. From other way, they decided that their international responsibility of this International Maritime Court.
They're fulfilling the court's decision, the maritime law, the International Maritime Law, and the European Court of Human Rights decision.
So, and same situation with for example, Edem Bekirov, because we have a decision of European Human Rights Court about his releasing. So they do that like that. For them, now we saw that for them really important international meaning, really important their obligation by international some agreements and some international structure.
I think maybe not even the obligation, but the image of, so to say, observing these obligations.
Yeah, so it's one of the why such exactly these people was putting in the list, because for understanding it's 86 people still from Crimea and Russia Federation territory still at the political prisoner, and we still have more than 200 people at illegal detention in occupied territory of Donbass. So it's 35 people. Seriously glad. It's happy day for our organization who working more than 5 years for their releasing, but we know that we need do more international pressure by campaign Save Oleksii Sentsov. Maybe we will change this number, this name. We don't have such a solution or something like this, such decision, but we will continue all our international campaign, because it's still too many people left in prisons.
But it's worth mentioning that these are top-profile political prisoners that were released. So that was quite surprising for many Ukrainians, that Putin let these many high-profile prisoners, I mean high-profile in the way that they were popular or popularized by media by this tragedy of being detained and then illegally transferred to Russian penal colonies or some solitary confinement, etc. So their names are famous now.
But they're famous only because we started to do that.
Right, because of the campaign.
Yes, Sentsov and Savchenko was only two known names for Ukrainian government at 2014. But in that, even in 2014, we have 11 such political prisoners. And Kolchenko started to be famous only because we started different campaign about put the whole list of the name in the international area of public area. So if we will speak about why these people, and all of them, they have a problem with their health. So for Russian, it's same one of the plus for their image, they say that all these people not dying in their jail. And now we have a short conversation with relatives, all these people now in Feofania hospital, and doctors still don't have a result, like diagnostic, what happened with their health. And we sure understood that it will be a huge number of psychology problems with the people after such stress and after such long period of pressure, torture, emotional torture, physically torture. So we need to understand that we still don't know in which conditions that people back to us. So so it's really important now. Give them rest. Give
some time to breathe out.
Yeah. And after this, I sure all of them, mostly of them, they are like worse. So they started to speak with media, started to speak. I'm sure that they will part of our campaign, because we still need working for releasing all other.
So you think that they will be ready to have a dialogue? Of course, I also expect this, and that would be very logical, because I think they have a lot to share with us, and we're also curious very much to know what was happening in these jails and what is possibly happening to the rest of the convicted and detained Ukrainians illegally held in Russia. I wanted actually to ask you about this. Physical rehabilitation will be provided by the state in Feofania hospital, but I wanted to ask about psychological kind of rehabilitation. Well, I think it will also be provided, but whose case worries you the most? Who do you think faced the biggest repercussions after this detainment?
Biggest problem for us is surely with Klykh mental health.
Stanislav Klykh.
Yes, Stanislav Klykh. It's two of them. Karpiuk and Klykh was, from one moment for us, lost in more than half of year. We're trying to find him in different prisons in Russia Federation, huge jail system, and when we're working with our colleagues from Russia Federation, asking him, trying to go these jails. Answers for us was like, we in the repairing, so we don't know where them, or we send them somewhere, but they still not coming there. And half of year we don't have any, we can't find them. But after this, when they come to Chechnya Republic and 7th of alternative trying to come in their case, and only 7th there in Grozny, they can do that and see them. In that moment, we know that Klykh is in a really hard condition, and he don't speak with his mom, and only few of such conversation. He told that they give them some medicine, and he thinks that its medicine was changed his minds, and that was some of drugs or something like this. So
some psychiatric invasion.
In that moment, he showing some of aspects of broken
mental problems, mental issues.
Mental problems, and that moment. So we still don't know is it true or not, or maybe it's his illusion about that he has some medicine or something.
But at least you notice that his behavior is very unusual.
Yeah, and we give this possibility. Different independent medical expert puts some diagnosed, and we know that he has a problem. But Russian Federation don't want to do such expertise, because if they recognized he has a problem, that means whole his evidence will be not useful for case, and they want to release this case. If you remember that in this case appeared this points like that our Yatsenyuk was one of the war in Chechnya. So it's their evidence, because they're trying to give any like this any I don't know how is I don't even how it's called like tale stories or something like this, because
fairy tales,
fairy tales,
they're creating fairy tales,
they're trying to show that it's all what they asking about Chechnya campaign to these people who never been Chechnya before. That's really fairy tales. So it's so for us it's like Klykh condition will be more problematic, and now doctors near of them, so they will have a support, and I hope that our state, Ukrainian like a state, create full program of rehabilitation, psychology and physiology rehabilitation for such people, because even it's only started. We will release more and more people, and even from different Ordlo, so-called
Donbass occupied territories.
Donbass occupied territory, releasing people. It's more than 4,000 people was in basement there, and now they are releasing, and they're in the territory of controlled by Ukraine. So
they were abducted and then
all these
released.
People need a rehabilitation
because they faced all these enormous psychological pressure.
So state need create such rehabilitation, social, psychological, and health rehabilitation, because all these people have stress, have tortured, and have a problem with their social lives.
Yes.
So,
well, I think that there might be a political will now after this case, because we heard comments from Ukraine's president Volodymyr Zelensky, and I think he expressed enough readiness that Ukraine is ready to do so. But I would like also to let our viewers know a little bit more about these 200 that are currently detained in the occupied territories in Donbass, because this is probably, well, it is hard to compare what is troubling and what is more troubling and what is the most troubling. But this is very tragic for us because we don't know the names of these people. We don't know where they are located, or maybe you have some kind of data and you research. And
from 2015, we started collect evidence of the people who was released for such a place, illegal place of detention in occupied territory of Donbass. And we find 87 such places. So it's some basement, it's some garages, it's some even basement of university. One of the biggest was in university named by Dal in Lugansk, and Batman keep there more than 400 people during the half of the year. So, and we collect this evidence and create some map, but we understood that we don't know whole. So 87, it's even not whole what we know.
87 locations.
87 locations, and we find the people from these locations, they give the evidence. So maybe some of other locations we just not find the people who were there. And all this place, it's not a place like a jail who built for keeping person during some long period, but all these jails, all this illegal place of detention, it's like terrible condition for people to stay in there. What will happen, and why we are told about only 227? 227, it's which name we know, and mostly of them it's warriors. So it's militarians, because militarians
from the voluntary battalions.
Yeah, it's militarians more like we have more information about where they coming from, in which moment they was kidnapped or something, or just to take hostages, but about civilians, a lot of civilians. It's a lot of civilians who was arrested by occupied authority by some crimes, like they told, for example, broke this hour of quiet after 11 or something like this. So, reason why they keep the civilians in such place, it's sometimes because they need a free labor work.
Yes, something fabricated just in order to
a lot
this
of them
advantage.
Don't have any form of courts or something like this. They just drop them in the basement, that's all. And that's why we are not sure. We have more than 1,000 appeals by relatives that a person all of us, we know that all the people who was released be in such list, so we can prognose around the 1,000 of people. Yeah,
I think this is very important to pass on this message to our international audience, so people are aware that the problem is actually is having much bigger scale than it looks like at first. The very last question, and very brief answer, please, because we're running out of time. The president announced the establishment, the creation of 2 working commissions or working groups that will keep a dialogue between Ukraine and Russia for the possible next exchange. How hopeful are you about the future work of these kind of groups?
Yeah, I hope every people who take responsibility for such conversation, it's as for me, it's a good idea, and surely we will help. All as possibility which we have, we give this committee to work with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for being a guest today in our studio. That was Alexandra Romantsova, Executive Director at the Center for Civil Liberties. Thank you so much for watching Head to Head. I'm Oleh Sentsov. Goodbye.